Two. Hello, everyone, and welcome into another edition of Voiceover Voices. I'm your host, Earl Hall. We're here for the upcoming voiceover artist that is really looking to start, build, and grow a successful voiceover business. We come to you just about every week now, but you can also see all of the interviews I've done just by going to voiceovervoices.biz. And at that website, you can also schedule your on-camera interview with me as well. I've got a great guest for you today. It is Jeremy Olivier, and I hope I pronounced that name correctly in that. But Jeremy, welcome to the show. Thanks for being here, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you for this great opportunity, Earl, and that you're giving us new up-and-coming voiceover actors that opportunity to be, out there in the spotlight now.
Oh, man. Well, that's awesome. I'm so glad to have you here. Well, Jeremy, tell us, how long have you been in voiceover and what got you involved in this crazy industry?
Yeah, I've actually been in for just next month will be it'll be a year, actually, the month of September.
Wow.
August and September. But I actually got started about a year and a half ago, and I'm an ESL teacher here in Korea. I'm in South Korea. So I worked at a nuclear power plant. And that nuclear power plant, they had an e-learning web series that they worked on. And the people who worked there, my students, my English students, they said, well, we need some English speakers, but we're going to go into a studio. And it's a studio owned by the city of Busan here. And you can go into the studio, you can pay for time and use the studio. And the university students who are software engineers they work there. So that's a bonus for everybody. So we went down there and we did the recording. And as I'm sitting there and doing the recording, I realized, wow, this is comfortable. This is right. And I unfortunately got bit by the bug, the VO bug. And since then, I've always been kind of interested in getting into it. Plus, just a little bit of extra there. I've always watched on YouTube shows like Critical Role and Acquisitions Incorporated, which are D&D, Dungeons and Dragons, nerdy ass voice actors playing D&D. And I watch those things and I'm like, I can do voice acting too. All of these things were kind of leading that direction. So here I am.
Wow. That's amazing. What do you think at this point in your juncture here, over the past year, what has been maybe some of the challenges or some of the more difficult things that you've had to really kind of overcome to really get into this thing?
Well, of course, we'll get to the equipment eventually, but
eventually.
Just having a room, having the being able to build my own little space. I started out with the box, with the hot box, a box with pillows, and you put it around my microphone and then use a blanket over that. And that's what I had to do right off the bat.
Wow. Well, all of us go through that, right? Trying to figure out how to get a better sound than, just sitting in an open room, which, is a bunch of echo and stuff like that going on. So let's hop into the gear. What microphone are we using here?
Okay. I am still you got a bunch of gearheads in your last more recent videos, and I have been watching all of your videos.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, I am dealing with the AT2020 USB mic. This was gifted to me by one of my students. It's my first mic.
Okay.
And ironically, my student's English name is Q. Just like in James Bond, Q gives... Thank you. Q gives James Bond the equipment he needs to succeed. So Q gave me this microphone, and I knew nothing about microphones. I did the research, and I'm like, wow, he just gave me this.
Yeah.
He's like, I don't use it. He goes, I'm going to the UAE to work at a nuclear power plant there. And he goes, I don't know what to do with this. And you look like you really enjoyed the recording sessions at the studio. So here. And I'm like, oh, Q, you are a lifesaver.
That's big, isn't it? When someone I mean, because it's usually the microphone is the most coveted piece of gear
It
that we can
is,
get,
yeah.
right? And
Hmm.
when you get something and you know the quality of it, because I mean, that's why I have the microphone. It was one of the first mics I ever had was that AT2020, and it's a very good microphone. You could use that for your entire career. I mean, but being a gearhead, you always move up. You know, you always
Oh,
continue
and
to
I'm
move up
learning. I'm learning.
with that. So that is a USB mic that you're using then, right? And you've
Absolutely.
been
I'm
using
kind
that,
of,
and you've been using that pretty much, I guess, over your entire career over the past year.
yes, unfortunately, yes.
I wouldn't call it unfortunately. I mean, in the studio that you go into, are there different types of mics that you use when you are doing ESL stuff?
Well, no, I mean, that was a one-time deal. I
Okay.
did that just one time. But yeah, since I did my first audiobook,
Hmm.
um, after I did my first audiobook, I got paid for my audiobook. I used that money and I was trying to figure out what to do with that money. So, what I did was I was on a bunch of Facebook groups, Facebook VO groups, VO Ladder and VO Life. These groups, I just asked them when we had our video sessions, what should I do? Should I spend money on a better mic? Or they just said right off the bat, treat your space, treat your space. You need to treat your space first. The mic is
That
not
is
important.
I mean,
Yeah,
it is so important. I mean, I preach that. It's like it's something I constantly say. The number one thing in your chain is your space. I mean, you can have the, Sennheiser MKH416 or the Norman TLM 103, and if you're in a crappy space, that $1,000 mic sounds like crap. And
yeah,
it's like you can have what you have, which is basically, what we would call a budget microphone, the AT2020, and put it in a treated space. It's magic. It's magic. There
it
is nothing more important than that adequately treated space. It is so vitally important. So you've learned that lesson, I'm sure.
it feels good. I actually built from the ground up. I'm talking measure, engineering, design, buying the PVC pipe and the blankets, which I had to order the blankets from Amazon. I live in Korea, so you can't just buy them anywhere. You have to actually order them. Um,
Mm.
but a clever use of PVC pipes, the blankets, zip ties, zip ties, and winter clothing. All of that mixed together, I have treated my space and it sounds great.
And it doesn't take much, does it? It's like all you're looking to do for the people that don't know is make a dead space. Where when we say dead space, space where your sound waves out of your mouth aren't bouncing off of hard, flat surfaces. With those
Hmm.
soft surfaces, they're just absorbed, so they're not zoom, 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 zoom back into the
Yeah.
microphone, which makes you sound horrible, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's the super simplest thing to do, and probably cheapest thing to do. But for whatever reason, people want to focus on $1,000 microphone or something like that to make them sound better, and
Right.
it has nothing to do.
Yeah. And the one small hint of advice that people who are doing the PVC pipe with the blankets, and you're like, when I was first got that, I was super psyched about that. And then I got into my VO groups and they said there's a little bit of an echo. And I'm like, okay, people usually put their mics in a closet with clothing. I'm not using my winter clothing. I take all my winter clothing, I hang it up around the walls of the inside of the PVC pipe thing, and bingo, it did what it did the job.
Yeah,
So
it's so funny that you can with the simplest tools you can really just change the whole dynamic of what you're doing in VO,
yeah,
just with some
yeah, I
very
can't.
simple things.
Yeah, I can't buy the foam, so I have to deal with what I have. I have to work with what I got.
That's it. so,
Yeah.
so are you looking to, like, what's in your head as far as like microphone in the future? Do you have one that you're coveting right now?
I'm not a gearhead, but I have been on, as you like to call it, YouTube University. I've done my
Yes.
research. I've gotten onto that. What I have in mind right now is the Rode NT1. That's the one that
Okay.
I am targeting. I was thinking about the Synco D2, but between those two, I don't have a low register voice. I have more of kind of an active higher register, and I
Hmm.
think the NT1 would be a little bit more for my style.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha. It's amazing with that. Now, are you going with the USB version or are you going with the XLR
Oh no
version?
no 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 no! I wanna get an interface. I want to get. I have a question for you. There's a Scarlett Solo and there's the Rode A1. And which one would for a starter? Yeah, I know Scarlett definitely yes.
Scarlett
So
Solo. It
Scarlett's
is.
okay.
It's always the go-to for me. Is this when people want an interface? It's like just pick this up,
Mm-hmm.
and you can use this forever. It's not. I mean, you've got the 2i2 that's out there from Scarlett from
Yeah,
Focusrite as well, but how many of us need two microphone inputs? I mean, we're just doing VO.
yeah,
We're not, doing a whole bunch of fancy stuff. You just need one input. And
yeah,
then even maybe pairing that up with something like a DBX 286S, like to take out background noise, add compression, and things like that,
yeah.
is fine. With that. But I mean, this. I mean, talking about gear, we can do this all day. I mean, I'm looking at my desk. I've got like three microphones around. I've got interfaces. I've
Nice.
got a whole bunch of stuff. But that's just because I'm a gearhead. But I mean, when you talk about building your VO career, and this is always like the last question that I ask everyone. If there's something that you could ask me, what would that be, and how can I help?
Okay. I've been thinking about this because I know I've been watching your other videos,
Hmm.
so I know that we get to this point eventually. Um, I have seen on social media, like the different social media platforms, and I've seen LinkedIn, and I'd like to know how to get crack that nut of LinkedIn for VO. How do I set myself up for success on that platform? I'm just curious onto that social media.
With every, and that's a great question because with every platform, it's usually always the same type of thing. But it's the thing that most VOs don't do, which is produce content. And the
Mhm.
biggest question I get, well, what do I do? I'm like, you just share your journey.
Mhm.
You show people you doing VO. You show people your setup. Come on, you do a video once or twice a week. I mean, we're talking about not only LinkedIn, but we're
Mhm.
talking about Instagram. Instagram would probably be a great place for that. I've had a lot of people use Instagram and create content there so that they can showcase what it is that they do. Because when someone is looking to hire a VO,
Mhm.
most times we're a commodity. I mean, there are plenty of people that sound just like you. There are plenty of people that sound just like me. A voice is just a voice. So there's got to be a differentiator in there with why should they choose you? And the biggest thing that
Mhm.
I say all the time is you've got to start specializing in something so that people start knowing, okay, this is the guy or gal I need to go to for this specific type of VO. Because if all you're doing is saying, I'm a voiceover artist, you're saying nothing. You're saying
I
nothing.
I found my niche though. I did.
Awesome. What is that? What is that?
Um, because okay, yeah, yeah, shameless plug. I'm sorry. Because of my four audiobooks that I've had out so far with
Yes.
my AT 2020 microphone,
Uh-huh.
I've done it. I've been able to get Fiverr gigs for evil characters,
Oh wow.
character
There it is.
voices.
There it is.
Yeah. So
And
I'm
and
starting there.
and that's what you want to do. You want to find that sweet spot for you. People will be like, "Well, how do I know what kind of VO to do?" And it's like, "Well, of course, you initially start like with a couple of different types or genres that you're doing. But I tell people the market will tell you what they want from you based on what they're paying you to do. Right. And it's like, so if you know you're getting hired over and over and over again for something specific, then that means you need to double down there, put some blinders on actually, and say,
Yeah.
okay, this is what I'm going to be known for. I mean, from your website to your LinkedIn profile to your Facebook profile, Instagram profile, all across the board, this is what I do. And then in those profiles, you're showcasing what it is that you do. Tagging relevant, maybe companies, industries, people, using relevant hashtags, things of that nature, so that you can get noticed for doing that. It's the key to everything.
That makes a
So I
lot of
hope
sense.
I hope that answers your question and makes sense.
Yeah. And to finish with my little tagline,
Yeah.
I'm weird. I'm normally weird. So I tell everybody, if you are weird, embrace the strange. So
Embrace the strange. Absolutely love it. Man, well, Jeremy, I want to thank you so much for being here with us today. I definitely appreciate your time all the way across the water in Southeast Asia. So definitely appreciate you being here. And look, everyone, if you want to be just like Jeremy, you want to come on and chat it up with me and actually get your questions answered as well, make sure that you do go over to voiceovervoices.biz. Check out all the interviews that are there. Jeremy's will be up here in just a bit. And schedule your on-camera interview with me as well. And we'll see you next time. You take care.